welcome all of you wonderful people that are coming on here as we've gone live. This is episode number 10. I can't believe we're at 10 already of the Leader Equation. And I am Lindsay Soprani. I am the owner of Soprani Consulting and the Lindsay Soprani team. And my lovely co-host, Christy Belt-Grossman, is right below. And she is the owner of Ops Boss Coaching, who just had the most amazing retreat for Ops Bosses ever last weekend, which I got to be a part of. So
fun.
Welcome, Christy. And then we have two amazing guests here today. They're here from the Burnette Real Estate Company. And I have Nicole Burnett herself, who is also an owner within the Keller Williams. And she'll explain that a little bit further in a minute. And then we have her wonderful operations manager, Kourtney Sanders. She's the best. And what I want to do is I want you guys to tell us what have you been doing for the last year, and just explain who you are a little bit, just a quick one before we pass it over to Christy and do the quick fire.
Sure. Okay, so we are the Burnette Real Estate Company, like you said. So for the last year, we've been working on building that company together. That's been a primary focus. And then I'm also the operating partner of Keller Williams West Sound here in Gig Harbor, Washington. So for those of you not super hip to Washington geography, you can Google the Kitsap Peninsula and find us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Kourtney.
You want a little bit about me?
Yeah,
Okay.
a little bit.
Yeah, so I came from the wedding and events industry and joined real estate almost a year and a half ago, and joined with Nicole, and we've been building this team for the last year. It's been a whirlwind. I always joke that I've been here for like 12 years because each month is another year, but it's gone by really fast and we've been having a lot of fun.
I love it.
Oh, that's perfect. I love it because we have so many people listening who are in that place of like, I'm at the beginning of this journey together, and you guys are going to shed so much light, I feel like, on that relationship. That was perfect. It feels like 12 months, feels like a year every month. So we're going to shoot through quick fire really fast, and just so people can get to know you and have a frame of reference. So how many years have you each been in the real estate business?
I had my 6-year anniversary in June.
And Kourtney, you just said a year and a half, right?
Yeah, June 2018.
Awesome. And then you're together for a year?
Just over.
Yeah, that whole time.
Mm-hmm.
For a year. Okay, and so how many were on the team when you guys came together, and how many are on your team now?
So when we came together, we were actually a different company, and there were 4 agents at that time, and then myself, so 5 total. And then September of last year, we actually created Burnette Real Estate Co. And there were 3 of us, Nicole, myself, and her sister Paige. And we forecasted, just adding maybe like 2 more agents. And we ended up growing a little more than that. So there's now 7 of us on the team.
Awesome. And then Nicole, you own a market center for Keller Williams as well. So how many agents were in the market center when you started, and how many now?
When I became an investor, we had 67, and now we have just over 130.
That's awesome. That's a lot of leadership going on over there, herding cats. So, okay, who wants to answer morning routine? What's your morning routine, one of you?
Oh,
Kourtney has a good
I'll
one.
start. So for me, I typically wake up and I will lay in bed for a while, and I will look at my email to assess the damage of the day. If I have time, I'll do a little stretching and meditation. It's on my 66-day challenge right now, so I need to get back into that. And then I get to the office around 9 a.m. and I start my day from there. I do an hour and a half of just me, pure focus time. I close the door. Everyone knows about it. And then I go into my day from there. Standard.
Nicole, how do you prepare for tomorrow? Any tips for listeners for preparing for the next day?
For sure. This has been a game changer for me. So I like to look at my calendar and review, the hustle bustle of the day. Sometimes you feel like, what did I even do today? Even though you were productive, it still feels like a blur. So I like to review all of my appointments, think about the things that I've done. Sometimes I'll journal. But a big piece for me this year that has been helpful, and Kourtney's helped me with this, is to really audit my calendar. So I will actually look at the next day, and is there anything I can remove? Like, is there anything I can cancel, postpone? I find that when I focus on what the most critical thing is for the next day and get rid of everything else, I'm happier and we move faster and I'm more productive.
I love that. I love the looking back over the day too. That's a great tip.
Yep.
Okay, but what book impacted you the most? Could be a current book, could be something you read a long time ago.
Kourtney can tell you I am a voracious reader. Like you can't see to the side of us, but there's just piles and piles of books. I would say the best book I read this year, by the way, I hate this question because I have a lot of books I would recommend. Atomic Habits was transformational, and Kourtney actually read it, which was fantastic. She didn't love to read like I did.
Well, I haven't finished. I'll admit I'm terrible at reading. I always have, I love books. I'm not a good reader. So I have a few books in the works. None of them are completely finished. One of those is Atomic Habits, but I love it. His writing's great. And then I've just started The Force Multiplier. So.
Oh, I love that book by Hallie Moore and Adam Hergenrother. That's like, I so identify with the way Hallie writes. She's fabulous. I recommend that to everybody. Okay, so last two questions. Number of streams of income. How many streams of income? Kourtney.
Oh, me. So I work here. So I have salary, profit share, and then I also still do weddings. So
awesome. So 3. And Nicole?
3. Marketing, owning the team, and then profit share.
Awesome.
About 4. Investment property coming in hot.
Yay.
Nice.
Yay. Awesome. Okay, superpower. Last question. Either your superpower or tell each other superpowers.
Kourtney's is easy.
Go.
Yeah, she's a logistics wizard. She truly is that. Like, her superpower is logistics. The way her mind works is awesome.
Sometimes they call me unicorn. So maybe we should go with that. Nicole, I would say that her superpower is positive persuasion. Yeah, like she gets me all the time. So
you can sell ice to Eskimos.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So for those of you who are listening who haven't listened before, we're on episode 10. We're chatting with owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs, and their shotgun leaders inside and outside real estate about what adds to the leadership formula, what subtracts, what divides, and most importantly, what multiplies your results. So how do entrepreneurs find the one? And how does the one choose their visionary, and all things related. So Lindsay's going to take us into the deep dive on leadership and what's the leadership formula.
Yes. Well, and you guys, so I know how you guys kind of came together and what that story looked like, but nobody else does. So walk us through, how did you choose each other? How did you decide to get in business together?
Yeah. Do you want me to kick off? I think.
Oh, I can, that's fine. Okay. So for me, I was kind of in a transition in my career. I was at a job that I knew I wasn't going to stay at forever. And I had no growth opportunities. So I always was on the lookout for a new opportunity. I knew Paige, Nicole's sister, socially, and she knew that I was, looking for more opportunities to grow. And she was like, oh, you should talk to Nicole. She's going to send you this really cool thing called a KPA. It's weird. Just do it. We'll go from there. And so that's kind of the rest is history a little bit. Yeah.
For sure. From my perspective, I had actually had in the previous company, 2 other folks in Kourtney's position, and great people, just not the right fit for me, as it turns out. Part of that was my leadership growth. Part of that was really understanding who I am, and understanding what blind spots I need covered. So that was a huge piece of that. The next piece of that, though, was really understanding that we were going to be a startup, even with the previous company, and that we needed someone gritty and someone that could hang, and that was passionate about building a business, and saw that, where we were 12 months ago is not even close to where we are. So Kourtney was that person. And obviously, actually, I was pretty hesitant because she was socially connected. You hope that you make a great hire, but even Gary Keller says it's 50-50 chance when you follow the process. So we got really lucky.
Yeah. Well, and so what about Kourtney? Okay, so you took the KPA, and assessment wise, there was a fit there, and then you guys went through the process. What really struck you during that process of okay, I think she can do this? When did that hit you?
Actually, it was her background in event planning, because she's just used to juggling so many things. And I firmly believe that when you find the right person, you can teach them the skills. So obviously, having no background in real estate, that wasn't a deterrent at all, because the skill set needed, she had things I can't teach.
I love that. And Kourtney, when you first started there, Nicole had 2 jobs, 3 jobs, maybe even 4. So not just one. So what did that look like for you? Like, you came in and you needed that grit, and Nicole knew you needed it, but it was a whirlwind in the beginning, right?
It was crazy. And it's funny to look at it now, but I really had no idea of what I didn't know. So there were so many questions I couldn't even ask because I didn't know to ask them. And there was a lot of times that I was alone because she had to do a lot of traveling for the office. And she was just always busy. At that point, she was still really carrying the team production wise. So I was just kind of thrown into it. I think I spent like 2 full days with her before she had to go to an OP training. And then I was at the office alone and I had no idea what I was doing. The real test was when she had to leave and we put 7 listings live in a day. And I was just thrown into the deep end. And that's really, it was like.
Was there ever a moment, Kourtney, where you just were like, this is too much, like I didn't sign up for this? Or did this make you excited? Like, how did this make you feel? Because I think a lot of people are in those same shoes that you were in.
So for me, coming from events, it's something that I'm used to, right? Like, you kind of have a lot of uncertainty in a lot of ways. There's a basic model that you need to follow, but for the most part, you always have to expect the unexpected. So for me, it fuels me. Also, I came from serving, was my background. So I'm used to just, things are happening. Someone's got to step up and you got to do the job. So it was really good for me, and I enjoy the crazy. I'm way better when it's crazy than when it's slow. So
yeah, do you always enjoy that? Do you always enjoy the crazy? Because I know sometimes you like controlled chaos, right?
This is true. We do a lot of events, and so there is always a point that I hit where I'm kind of like, oh God, I don't know, like how far like I can keep pushing myself. I will really burn myself out. That's where I realized I need a second person. So I'm currently in the process of hiring my next person.
What I've noticed about Kourtney is that she wants to put out the highest quality work possible, which is something I love about her. That's something where we really connect, right? Is that we have the vision. I don't even have to tell her. I'm like, I need an invitation for this. And she just creates something that's like, better than anything I would ever do. And, completely stylistically fantastic. Anyway, but I think where she sometimes hits that frustration and what we've had to learn together is I need to know when to not to back off, but when to just extra support or what have you, because she's frustrated because here's her vision for where it should be. And to get it done, maybe she'll get like here because she's doing more than any human should be able to handle. So just helping her and supporting her through that.
Yeah, I usually look when I'm stressed out. You don't really know that I'm stressed out. So a lot of the times Nicole won't know, even though on the inside I'm on fire. Like I'm dying. The ship is going down. But we've been like learning to communicate that to each other.
So I know Christy's probably about ready to ask this. What did that look like? Like, how did you figure that out? Because that is something that Christy and I hear so often is like, there's this control with the operations personality that like, if like Nicole and I and like, Christy's controlled too, but like, if Nicole and I are flustered, we're like all over the place. We're probably cursing. Like there's all kinds of things happening and
something's on fire. It's fine.
Yeah.
All those things, right? But like there is this controlled thing. And so often we hear from like the leader, like, I had no idea that they were even like feeling like they were sinking. How did you guys figure that out?
So early on in our like working relationship, I was going through coaching with you, actually, Lindsay. We had gone to a conference together and it was really good. We learned a lot. And for me, just the personality type that I am, I needed more time to recharge. And we were talking a lot of business on the way back and I was already pretty mentally exhausted. But Nicole had no idea at that point that was something that I needed to like recharge and then we'd revisit. So we kind of hit a breaking point a little bit there.
Mhm.
And then we were going into a lot of business planning. And I feel like it was still, like I was still amped up from that. And we had probably our first, I call it a kerfuffle.
Kind of the only.
Yeah, our first kerfuffle. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we had like a difference of opinion, and I had to stand up for what I believed and kind of like push back on her. And it was the first time that that had happened. And then we had to have an uncomfortable conversation about it and where we went from there. At no point was it, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to work with you. It's just like, okay, so we see things differently. How are we going to work on this and move forward and like grow as a marriage, a working marriage? Yeah.
Well, Nicole, what do you remember of that conversation? Like, was that scary for you as the leader? Like, you know, is she going to leave me? Is she okay?
I think there comes a certain point in a leadership journey where you've kind of been through enough that you're like, well, if this all goes to hell, like, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. However, I also knew how talented Kourtney was. And so, yeah, definitely was really anxious about it because I didn't want to lose it. And more importantly, our relationship had started to grow and I really cared about her as a person. So I did not want either way, you know, for the business or personally for that to go sour. I do remember being, like kind of blindsided because I really didn't have any clue. We're driving back in the car. We're just talking about things. There was one comment in particular I made that to me was like complete, almost if anything designed to be a compliment. It was not received that way, but that was like my bad. And that was the learning of that. I was just so glad she said something because I think the other part of it, you know, the one thing you'll never accuse me of is not looking for feedback, right? I'm always interested in having those conversations and I'll just say, what's your feedback? And that's probably a product of the kerfuffle, the great kerfuffle of 2018.
Yeah. The great kerfluffle. So Kourtney, if that doesn't come naturally to you to like put yourself out there and say, hey, like I need my space or I need time to process, whatever that is, what did Nicole do as a leader that created that space for you that you were okay with stepping into it and saying those things when you were fairly new on the job?
Yeah. So I think we have an interesting dynamic because I did also know Nicole socially, but wasn't as close to her as I was to her sisters. So coming into it, and now we talk about it all the time, I'm kind of like the little sister that they never had. So it's more of a family environment. It felt comfortable to have the uncomfortable conversation because it almost felt like family in a way. It was like, we're kind of in this together. I don't think something bad's going to happen. Like maybe I dislike you in this moment, but we'll get through it because at the end of the day, like we're doing this thing. So I think just the difference of environment. I also was growing into a different position. Like I knew that I was here to run things. So I didn't want to just revert to my natural state. I knew I needed to step up and take more responsibility.
I think what you just said was really important. The first thing you said is really that you were both committed to the outcome of it working. I think a lot of times those conversations are had, but people don't know what the outcome is that they want. And you guys both recognized each other as talent and wanted to be in business together. So you went into it with, we want to work this out. So let's have the conversation.
Yeah.
Well, I think something that, just to add to that, what's really unique and magical, unicorn-like, about Kourtney is her commitment to the mission. You know, I think in our business, we often hear like, no one's going to care about your business as much as you do. And like, she's my favorite because that's not true. She absolutely is in business too. So
I love that.
I think that's key.
How do you guys feel like you have grown since from when you started working together to now? And you can even do how you've seen each other grow if you're able to, but what does that look like?
Yeah. Oh, well, I can start. We were talking about this the other day. For Nicole, she's grown a lot because she's let go. When I came into it, she was very much in control and wanted to remain in control. Like I had said earlier, we were a different company at that point, and she felt as though she was kind of still carrying things in production, and she was doing everything with the market center. So she felt like if she relinquished control, things were just going to go downhill. And she wasn't quite sure about me yet. because she had been in previous relationships that didn't work out. So she wasn't quite sure. And then once we created BRC and she knew that I was on board with the mission and to really, work on her vision, she started relinquishing control. She was able to go to Europe for like a month this year, which was
two
amazing.
separate trips.
2 separate trips, but totals a month. And nothing terrible happened. Everything went as planned. I was able to handle things while she was gone. So really control and giving her back her life, I think
That's weird.
has changed a lot,
It's really nice.
which we would have never thought, a year ago, that was going to be what happened.
Oh man, what do you think?
Kourtney's growth, man. I've just watched her step up into, I think she always knew and I always knew she had leadership potential. She just hadn't been in those roles yet. So now, we have a Thursday morning meeting for BRC and she leads it. And she organizes it and, she'll come to me and say, hey, is there anything you want me to toss in? But I really do my best to shut up for most of that meeting because she's got it handled. Even her leadership, just, she said my vision, but we just did our planning advance retreat with Paige, Kourtney, and I. And, she's got a big vision as well. So watching that growth too, just to thinking bigger. And that's been pretty magic.
Love that.
So fun. And let's touch on the vacation thing really quickly, because we know that's a thing that people struggle with. So let's look at the leader thing, because so many leaders, for them to go on vacation for the first time where somebody has it, like Nicole, explain that feeling.
Yeah. It is a little wild. To me, by that point, I saw, that was like April, I believe. I went to Portugal with some college friends and it was fantastic. If you haven't been, go to Portugal, call me. I have all of the things you need to know.
All the things.
And, we were actually even bringing on we just recruited a fantastic team member and she was coming on.
We actually hired like 30 team members in that time.
Maybe it was 3. 1, 3, same. Anyway, and I think Kourtney always has a plan and she's great at outlining like what she's going to need from me. And also some of this where it was like, well, I'm going to Europe. I'm going to have internet. Like if you need something, we can talk about it. But she's just so capable. So it was a wild feeling because, it's been 6 years, right? I haven't done anything like that in 6 years, where I just felt like I could go and I wasn't toting my laptop everywhere. So pretty fantastic.
That's awesome. At what point in the relationship, in the business relationship, Nicole, did you kind of like get that, like, this is it, she's the one? Like, was it right away you knew she was different and she continued to prove herself, or was it like a process and then something happened and you're like, oh my God, she's got this?
Yeah, for me, I would say like I was just super cautious the first month. Like they always say, this is another Gary thing, right? Is fall in love with the results, not necessarily the person at first. And I think that I wanted to fall in love with her as a person and I already did socially. So I was just a little more guarded. But she just kept winning. She just kept, I was seeing the business move forward. I was seeing her grow and I was seeing her continue to want to do all of those things. So I really appreciated the loyalty and the grit. And so the actual results of, the business per se, like doubling or that piece, I knew that would come. So I would say probably within the first 2 or 3 months, I was like, yeah, she can't go anywhere.
That's awesome.
Time to ask for a raise, Kourtney. No, just kidding.
I know, right? Well, and walk us through, what do you guys feel like was the best thing that you've done together? Like, what are you super proud of that you've done?
Probably build this team is the biggest thing. We just went on our executive goal planning retreat and it was funny to reflect. We did it last year. Last year, we were like, we're starting this new company. We don't really, we knew what we wanted, but we're like, will it work out? I hope so. But we had no idea that it was going to grow into this team that we loved, like all of our agents. We love them outside of work, inside of work. And we just weren't expecting that. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, I'm most proud of the culture. And that's had a ton to do with Kourtney. I absolutely love our team. Like I always thought that was just like stage talk. Like that's what people say. my team. No, I really love my team. Like, I want to hang out with them. I pout when they get to go to dinner and I can't go, you know, they're amazing women. And actually ended up being all women, which is kind of a funny, that wasn't intentional.
No.
But it's been amazing. So yeah.
Which is weird. It does seem like there should be drama, you know, with 7 women, but there's not. Everyone's super chill. So now we're super protective over the vibe that we've created, because we do like want to keep growing, and we're always looking for like new agents and new admin, but we're super cautious about bringing in people because we don't want to mess it up. That's so good.
Love that. Well, and so flip side of that, what was your biggest challenge together? And then we might do a biggest challenge just overall as well. But let's start with together. What do you think was the biggest challenge?
Well, I mean, I think probably at the beginning, again, it was communication, just learning each other's personalities and behavior in a work setting was a challenge for us, just because we're similar, but just removed enough that we had to understand where the other person was, to know that like she's not actually mad at me, you know, in the moment. Like, she may have high intensity, but she's not mad at me. We're going to move on. She'll forget about it.
No. How do you know the difference between that now? You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of like that intensity that we all have, like, feels really scary.
Yeah, for an admin, it's terrifying. Learning to get and then I would say, like, for me personally, a challenge was just she wasn't always around because she is overseeing the Market Center, especially even this year more so. So I've had to really learn a lot of things on my own, which is good because it challenges me and I'm better for it. But it is hard in the moment to sometimes feel like you're carrying something and you don't have your better half there to help you along. So
She said better half.
Yeah.
That's a bold-faced lie, not the better half. However, no, I would agree. I definitely think it was communication. And also, I mean, biggest challenge was probably where we both needed to grow as leaders, right? Because I had a lot of space to grow. She just taught me a lot. I think that she's always pushed me, but not in a frustrating way, just in a way that allowed me to see my gaps. And I also think she's been super patient because she will give me a lot of grace and realize that I'll get there. You know, if she has those conversations with me, or if she just has to hang tough. And I mean, that's one of the greatest gifts as a leader, I feel, is someone that just believes in you. Man, oh, I just got goosebumps. It's a wild feeling. And I think that if you wanted to know the secret sauce, it's like, I think we are each other's biggest cheerleaders for sure. Like, there's nothing that I think she can't do. And she helps me feel like maybe there's a few things I can do too. So that's pretty
So
good.
you said she pushes you, but not like in a bad way, like she pushes you. What does that look like? I think there's a lot of people listening who don't know how to do that, and there are leaders that don't know how to receive that. So how would you address the leaders and then the shotgun leaders?
And example work too.
Yeah, I think the way she pushes me in terms of how I'm leading would be like, maybe it's the speed at which things are happening. Things will bottleneck with me, right? And I think that as the leader, you don't really realize that things are bottlenecking with you. You want everything run by you, and it's not because you're trying to slow things down. And so she'll kind of call me out a little bit on that and be like, I really need this from you, and like, let's go. And maybe we should think about, like, do you delegate this, or how does this work? How can we get that off your plate? So really just a good sounding board. But she's just honest with me, which is critical. And as far as the shotgun leader, I think just having those conversations. And a lot of the time, you know, when you have somebody flying around who's got several businesses, or who's got even one just really full busy business, we don't always see our blind spots, right? We don't always see, it's not that we tend to be really hard on ourselves. So we know where we can improve. We just don't always see how the business is suffering in a corresponding way. And so giving us a real concrete an action step where we can go help fix that and keep the business moving forward. She's really good at that and seeing the big picture with me.
Yeah. I'm really good at spotting inefficiencies, which is a good thing and a bad thing. But having her gone actually allowed me a lot of opportunity to see where we could grow in our business and our team. And I had to struggle through those things a little bit, but the team members that we've been hiring on have been pushing me, which has been really good because I'm like, okay, like these are talented agents. And I didn't really know, we had some other people before and they didn't push me in that way. So for me, it was a little uncomfortable because I was like, whoa, what's happening? Oh, wait, like they're just moving at like a really great pace and I need to provide more to them. So that's really where I am right now, is learning how to service our agents in the best way and, you know, help them grow in addition to her, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell me, since things were bottlenecking with Nicole, did Kourtney ever like move forward and do something or make some decisions that were not approved and then you guys had to talk about it at all? Or did you ever just move on it, Kourtney, or did you always wait and just push on her? What did that look like? Because I think people have a hard time with that too.
No, no, not at this point. I would say I'm kind of an interesting person. If I can't push on things like until I know my parameters, and it takes me a little bit of time to warm up. So I think we were talking about this at our retreat as well. I start to come into my own like after a year or so, and it will only continue to go from there as soon as I feel comfortable in the dynamic or where I can really push. So there's nothing in the last year that I would say I just went for, because I also know that we're building this together and it's so new. I want her to have say as well. There was one instance, and it wasn't that I just went for it. Like I was hard on myself because I guess I made kind of the decision. We got some like merchandise that I didn't love. It wasn't up to my standard. And it wasn't what I thought that I was getting. And so I was really hard about it. And I was like, oh no, she's going to hate it. This is terrible. I've now blown all this money. But it worked out. She was like, whatever.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things. And I think that's also how you know as the leader that you've got the right person, because someone else would have done that and I probably would have flipped the table. And I was like, it's Kourtney, it's fine. It's whatever. It's hacks. We'll give them away. Someone will look great.
And the reason why I asked that question is because I think a lot of times leaders, and Nicole, maybe you can speak to this, and I know that Christy can, but like, I think leaders expect them to automatically just start doing things and making decisions because we feel like they should just know everything and do it. But I think the truth is most personalities like Kourtney they don't want to do that until they're really sure. Like they have to feel sure. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of leaders want them to just start moving and making decisions. Does that make sense? But it takes them a little while to grow into that, I think.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. When you look at someone as a partner, though, I don't know that you operate that way. And Kourtney is 100% my partner. I sign the paychecks or what have you, but she's my partner. So I don't know that I was ever in that headspace, because I realized that if I were going to be successful in this endeavor, if we were going to be successful in this, that's how it would have to operate. So we really do run things by each other.
I think there's maybe like a few times that she does like want me to move faster. But that's natural. Like she's more responsive than I am. Like if we look at the KPA, my responsiveness is low. We're cautious. I want things to like be correct, which I am learning to somewhat speed up to her, but she's also learning to slow down a little bit for me.
Take care of themselves if you give them a little time, I'm finding.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. That's sometimes a really hard thing to walk through too, because a lot of leaders really want their people to respond immediately and to be like crazy. Was that overwhelming in the beginning, Kourtney? Like, was she like on you for things a lot? Or, I mean, we have agents too that'll like text, email, and call if they don't hear from somebody in an hour. And I'm not saying Nicole was like that, but like, what does that look like for you? And did that take some time to get up and running with? Or do you-
Yeah, so I know that if she texts you, you better text back right away.
so true.
So how did you figure that out? Did you guys discuss that at the beginning, or did you just figure it out?
We didn't discuss it at the beginning. I'm pretty good about it anyways. When I'm in a work setting, not necessarily in my personal life, but in work, I know to like respond right away. So, and I think because I was left alone a lot in the beginning and I didn't know what I was doing, I always had my phone like ready to go. Like, okay, like what's the next thing? I better be ready to text her back if she needs anything or get my next direction. So I just started doing it. She's not, when it comes to projects, she doesn't really do that. Like she's not a micromanager by any means. So she'll kind of leave me alone for the most part, unless it's something that she wants done like right away. And then she's like, we got to make things happen. I'm like, okay, I'll make magic happen. Don't worry, we'll get it done, which we do.
I think that one of the things we implemented that's really helped with that though is we started to go and literally whiteboard like, okay, what are the big projects? And okay, we're in the end of October. What's done by October? What are we pushing in November? Okay, it'll be done the first 2 weeks in November. Okay, second 2 weeks, so that I also have a visual where I can look at it and I remind myself that it's being worked on. Like the unicorn's on it. We know when it'll be, and if she needs help or needs to push a timeline in that space, then we can talk about it. So that's been.
So it sounds like, despite the fact, Nicole, that you're running around doing a million businesses, or with leading, maybe not a million businesses, but leading a lot of people, right? And you talked about Kourtney, her not being there a lot. Despite that, you guys have a high level of communication. What does that look like? Like, do you meet once a week? Do you talk on the phone daily, once a week? Like, what is that?
Yeah, so we have an hour meeting every week where it's just the two of us talking on what's going on with me and what's going on with the business.
Who leads that meeting?
Who leads it?
The meeting and brings the agenda into that meeting.
So we don't really, it's me, but we don't really have like an agenda. Like I'll usually go over my 411 and kind of go off from there about what's going on. This week we talked about like goals and how we've grown together. So it kind of changes every week. It's just whatever we need to touch base on. And then we talk daily, like even on the weekends, probably. Like we're always in communication.
Totally. Well, and I think what we got good at was efficient communication. Talking about the big rocks. Like she does not bother me with minutia, which makes me treasure her. And so I think just being efficient and purposeful with your conversation.
I love that. And
it's good. Oh, sorry, just to add. It's good for me because I don't like writing everything out for her to see. Everything's in my head. Like I'm very good. The planner in me, the coordinator in me, I can see like what my to-do list is. I don't necessarily like write it down for myself because it's just always like forefront of my mind. So I have a hard time sometimes communicating those things to her. Which we kind of, I think maybe in the beginning of summer is when she was like, I need to see what's actually going on. She's like, I know you're doing stuff. I know you're working on things, but I don't know where all these projects are. And I'm like, oh, of course. Like I should show that to you because I have it in my head. Like I know everything that's going on, but you can't see that. So how can we work on that together? And that meeting really helps us.
That's such a good thing because there's so many people that that's a big struggle I think that we see across the board is, feeling like there's so many things that I know I've given them, like, and none of them are done. And we like, as business owners, there are times when we'll be like, well, I gave that to him a month ago. What's happened with that? Where is that? And I think, having a project list where you can see what's going on with that. And so you guys whiteboarded. What else do you do? Do you check in regularly on that when you meet or what happens there?
Yeah, for the most part, we'll check in on it. I kind of know too, like sometimes there are projects that I move slower on that I know mean a lot to her. So I'm like, okay, she's going to like circle back with me soon. So I'll send her an email or like a text or catch her when she's in here. Just be like, I haven't forgotten about this. Things are moving forward. Here's where we're at. Usually I'm stuck with customer service. I spend a lot of time with customer service. So I try to keep her in the loop. and anticipate that she's going to circle back.
Also for me as a leader, the growth there was I had to get my act together on communicating my priorities. Like all of these things cannot be of equal priority. And once I got better at that, we got better.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And learning, we had different, because I didn't know what I didn't know. I wasn't sure about what the actual priorities should be. So it took me a little while to understand, like, okay, I need to start thinking about what is like the dollar productive activity of today. And I had to make that, mind switch for myself. And then I was able to be like, okay, this is actually priority number one. This is what Nicole would think is priority number one.
That's such an important point. Sorry, I'm sure you guys have another question, but this is critical because I think what changed the game for us that I've forgotten about was when Kourtney started to help looking at profit and loss and financials and help manage those pieces. It was like an overnight, like I had an even better, cooler leader on my hands because she'd go, we can't do that. Have you seen? No, we're not doing that. Like, we're not spending that. And she's tougher than me about expenses, which I love. It's fantastic. So that changed because then she became like my co-business owner, right? Mindset. And that was magic. So involving your right-hand person as fast as you can in those finances, man, that helped. So
Yeah.
it's really cool.
That's awesome because I think a lot of people want to hold on to that piece, especially because they're so afraid of somebody else seeing that. So, I mean, Nicole, like you weren't afraid at all. It sounds like it was such a huge benefit to you.
Well, I know I have a really talented person on my hands, and a really talented person who's doing a lot of work to build a company is going to want to have conversations about compensation, right? And they're going to be interested in how they can earn more money. And when they're looking at the financials, then if that's not coming as quickly as maybe I even feel it should, at least there's a conversation around here's the metrics, here's the goals, here are the, going back to the dollar productive activities, like, okay, sweet. If we can throw out 3 more listings a month, that's your bonus, girl. Like that's where that comes from or whatever that looks like.
It's something they can control and have input into the results.
We were also, when I came into the finance portion of the business, we were new. So it was really a clean slate and it gave us a lot of opportunities to understand exactly where each dollar was going. So I've just really focused on that. I don't buy things that we don't need to buy. Like I often will be like, do we need to spend that? I don't know. Probably not.
Which is funny because you guys can't see, but we have the most lovely office spaces. She's done an incredible job on a shoestring budget and making it really welcoming, cool space as well. So anyway.
I love that.
It's awesome.
Nicole, I have a question for you. So you said earlier that you failed forward with a couple of other hires before you hired Kourtney. Where have you had to grow as a leader to be Kourtney's leader versus those other people that didn't work out so well?
Yeah, well, I think the challenge with the first two, so the first one was a lifeboat hire, 100. And a great person. We still know her socially. And it just, I don't know who would have survived that. I mean, even Kourtney, as incredible as she is, like that was some wild times. The second one, I think I was just listening to what everyone else told me that person needed to look like and not having a lot of sense of who I am as a leader, right? And what my blind spots are. So I think that was the difference with getting together with Kourtney. So my growth came from like realizing, for instance, the KPA, it's a tool, it's a tool to get to know someone and understanding like the responsiveness piece. I was nervous about that and realizing there's some value in having someone that doesn't respond to things like you do. So just some growth in that and getting uncomfortable because there were some times where it was really uncomfortable because she doesn't emote like I do. She doesn't communicate like I do. I even talk wicked fast and she's just as smarter than me, but she will be more measured in her speech, right? Just getting used to that and getting some chill, but also I had to remember, I think, that the purpose of business is profit, right? Of course, and creating big lives for your people and getting more focused on how her life was going to be better by being with the company. That changed me as a leader instead of do all these tasks, not being so task driven, being more holistic about it. That really changed.
That's huge. That's huge.
Love
I just
that.
want you to say that like 10 times and then we can end the show because that was really
I know.
awesome.
Well, that's my follow-up to all of that is, I mean, Nicole, you see her as an investment. You're investing in her. I mean, I know this, but she goes with you to some trainings, right? You invest in her in those things, right? Can you walk us through that? Why? Why do that?
I mean, this is the next person that could run our company if that's what she chooses to do. So I also realized how poorly I communicate a lot of the things I learned in trainings. I'm getting better. And part of that was taking her with me and then talking about it and hearing what she hears or hearing what Paige hears. Taking your top people with you is, I think, critical. Also, she takes away things I wouldn't take away. She went to CV without me because she's going to make this big hire for our company. And that was, I learn as much as she does going to those where we go together, go apart. So I just can't imagine not sending her, like not having coaching for her or not anything she wants to do. You know, if we can make the best.
We'll see you at the Ops Boss Leader Retreat next year, Kourtney.
Oh yeah, I really wanted to go this year. I just couldn't make it work. I wanted to go though.
She'll be there.
And that's the thing, you know, so many people don't invest in their person, and we really have to look at that as an investment. Like they're not sitting there at a desk just, you know, waiting for you to be like, go buy flowers for this person and do that. They don't want to sit there and, you know, be directed, right? They want to be able to think and do their own thing and grow. And like, Kourtney, would you have stuck around if like she didn't invest in you as a person and like take you to learn and ask your opinion on things?
Well, I mean, I probably would have stuck around, but I wouldn't be as happy as I am here.
Well, that shows how wonderful she is, which is
right. She's the nicest.
I wouldn't be as happy because I do have a lot of opinions on things. So I feel like if I can't voice my opinion, then I'm not like in the right work environment. And I mean, I get like a little FOMO if I'm not going to things. I'm like, why can't I go? I want to go too. So going to all the trainings has been really great though, because it also gets me out of the office. Like I'm so often like the only person in our office because everyone else is out doing business, and it gets a little lonely sometimes. So going out and like meeting other people and hearing other perspectives is really great. It was also really great for me because I didn't know anything about real estate. So going to Keller Williams events, or if they were non-Keller Williams events, I learned more about the industry. Mm-hmm. Like that's where I learned about scripts and how I can help our agents if Nicole or Paige isn't around. I can like tell them a script, which is weird. I've never used a script on it, but I can tell them what the script is.
That will change.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
So
yeah.
That's awesome.
What is one thing that you would do sooner if you had a do-over of the past year? Is there anything you would do sooner?
Good question. We have moved really fast actually this year. I'm super proud of this year. One thing we would do sooner.
I don't know if there's one thing. Everything, like I said at the beginning, every month has felt like a year because we have been moving so quickly. Like we had to stop ourselves. There was a time probably like a month ago, and I was getting really hard on myself. I'm like, oh, like we're not at this level. Like we should be here. And I was like, wait, we've only been doing this for a year. Like the amount that we've accomplished in this year is insane.
Yeah, we're on track to crush 100 units. Like that feels pretty good as a brand new team.
In year one. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and half of the hires were new agents. So it's not, I mean, that's huge. So we're just, I think one thing we could have done sooner is celebrate the wins. Be driven personalities, and I think not celebrating those wins, celebrating them gives you a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm. I would say from an admin perspective, probably systems, making them more scalable. Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't know when I was building out systems, it was at the end of last year. I was thinking that it was just going to be myself, Nicole, and Paige. So my systems were like, okay, but I wasn't prepared to bring on a lot of other agents at different, we've learned a lot. Like every agent that we've hired this year has been at a different point in their career. Mm-hmm. So they demand different things. So that's taught me a lot about what my systems need to look like. So now I'm in this like optimizing time. How can I optimize everything and continue to grow?
Yeah, we would have spent more time on onboarding. I think that's kind of the consensus, is really getting those systems dialed. The way it worked out has been fine, but getting those dialed faster would have been better.
Mm-hmm.
Typical cycle of business, right? Storming, forming, norming, storming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Let's ask about this. So right now, you know, if there, I know that you guys you've had a really good team dynamic, but if there was like a hard conversation that had to be had with somebody else on the team, you know, Nicole, would Nicole have to be doing that, or are both of you able to have those? Yeah.
We have actually gone through this. While we have a team of 7 right now, we have had a few like hires during that process that ended up getting out of the business. So we've had to have tough conversations with them. The one that comes to mind is we saw someone who was in the business. They wanted to be in the business, but doing those agent activities didn't make them happy. We cared a lot about them, and we wanted a lot of success for them, and we didn't want to get out of business. So we were like, how can we help you? So we did have to have a tough conversation, and it involved both of us and actually Paige as well. She's our productivity coach for our brokerage as well. So it involved all 3 of us to say, we really care about you and we want this for you. How can we help you?
Do you want this for you?
And it was tough.
Super tough. Yeah, I think coming at it with several of us, Kourtney is on the day-to-day, probably the one that's more in charge of accountability and keeping track of their activities. I do weekly check-ins with each of our agents, and I think that that's critical for some of those more corrective conversations. You know, Kourtney will be observing, and then I can coach to it, right? Because ultimately it's a coaching conversation. It's not like playing the heavy. With the 3 of us, I think it was because there was some personal relationship involved, you know, and it just felt like the right thing to do. So yeah.
Okay, that's awesome that you guys have that kind of set up where, you know, so Kourtney, you are still holding people accountable, it sounds like, to doing the actions, and then the tougher conversation might come from Nicole if needed, but it sounds like you're having them as well. So you guys are a real team right there, huh?
Yeah, I mean, for the most, like, I am the one who's here all the time. So I see everyone the most. So I get to see people at their highest points and their lowest points, and I'm an observer by nature. So yeah, I get to like take all that day to day and see where people are at and bring it to Nicole, because she is so busy. She doesn't get to see everything on a daily level.
And it's nice in that way because Kourtney's in the day-to-day, and then I'm a little bit removed, not from the team, but, you know, removed from the daily activities. So I can then, like I said, coach to different things, or maybe I have a different perspective because I'm not in the emotion of it, right? I'm just coaching to the business techniques or strategies. Not that Kourtney's involved in the emotion, but you understand. So I think that's been a really critical dynamic, actually.
Love that. And Kourtney, it sounds like you are getting ready to do your own hire. And so Nicole, how involved are you in that, or is it all Kourtney?
I'm constantly scouting for talent,
Yeah.
in general, for the brokerage, for the team, which I'm really starting to enjoy that. That's been a lot of fun. So I will definitely present people that I think would be worth pursuing or help. Kourtney's still mastering, KPA verification and using those tools. So I'll take point on getting that rolling, and then she takes it from there.
Yeah. So in this process, there's been I've never done hiring before. There's been a lot of things that I don't know. Nicole has done a lot of hiring. She's done a lot of KPAs. So she's been a really good resource for me. I bounce a lot of things off of her. I'm like, does this sound right? Can you help me? Just because she has the knowledge that I don't have. After a few hires, I think I'll be able to do it more so on my own, and she won't have to be involved. But she's always the one finding talent. Like, that's just who she is. She's out there. She's networking. Yeah, exactly. But it's been an interesting process. I should have, if we're going to things that I probably should have done sooner, I should have started that process sooner.
That's it.
Like now I know I have to be thinking ahead. So like, okay, I'm going to hire this person. Who is that person going to need? I'm already thinking about who we can hire next.
So smart.
I love that. I think that's a mistake a lot of teams make as they're growing from kind of small to medium and medium to large.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Rainmaker is still doing the hiring of the second and third admin. And that creates a leadership issue when the new person comes in of who's my leader on the day to day. So I like that she's giving you the knowledge and that you're implementing.
And we knew that whoever was going to come next onto the admin team was going to be with me every day, and they would be reporting to me. So I needed to find someone who I really like versus someone who maybe Nicole liked and I absolutely hated. So
I can't imagine that being a thing.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a thing, but I just needed to really be in control of who was going to sit next to me every day.
Well, she needed her unicorn, right? And that we had a lot of conversation around that maybe this person, because I think we have this box for admin, right? This is an admin personality, and this is a Rainmaker. I've been in the business long enough to realize that's not necessarily always the case. But also, like, how could what are Kourtney's blind spots as a leader? Who does she need to fill in there? And I think, we've come up with some really dynamite candidates that I think we both are excited about. But ultimately, it's going to be Kourtney. It's going to be her unicorn. So she has to. And the only way I got good at any of this, the only way I got good at any of this was doing it a lot. So she needs to go do it a lot.
Right.
Cool. So if you're listening, even if it's a year from now, you're listening, you still want to reach out to them in Washington State because they probably have even more opportunity. What's one thing that you would tell a leader who is listening, Nicole and Kourtney, a shotgun leader who is listening? What's one step they can do, one action item they can do to up their leadership lid? I know that wasn't on the list of questions we sent you.
No, that's okay. That's a great question. Just one thing.
You can tell however many things you want. Action steps where you can raise their leadership lid.
Go on vacation.
There you go.
That's actually true.
On vacation. Yep. The sooner the better. Preferably a week. Preferably somewhere where it's dodgy if you're going to get reception.
Paris would be good.
Because when you come back, you'll know what kind of rock star you have on your hands. You'll know what's broken.
True.
Stress.
For admin, I would say one, you need to trust your leader's vision. That's like the main thing. Like if you have faith in them, and where they're going to take you, that will you'll go so far. And that's really something that's worked with us. I really trust her leadership and her vision, and I know we're going to get to where she wants to be, but it's also where I want to be. I would also say, don't be afraid to push back and give your opinions, because you're just as much a part of this business as they are, because you are the one running the day to day. Just take ownership over the business.
Love that.
So easy to end with that. How do people get, I know, like mic drop. How do people get in touch with you if they have referrals for real estate or would have questions for your leadership?
Yeah. Well, so if you want to get a hold of the boss, it's team@BurnettRealEstateCo.com.
Yeah.
And if you want to get a hold of me, I usually have some good memes and some jokes. It's Nicole@BurnettRealEstateCo.com. Or you can shoot me a text. Kelly, if you're in the KW system, you can find us on Kelly.
Yeah.
But my number is 253-549-8555.
And for me, you can add me on Facebook, send me a message, follow our page. That's a really,
Our Instagram is
Instagram, we're always on. So go there, message us, comment, we'll respond.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much for spending the afternoon with us, you guys. We are super appreciative of all of your rawness and just how many examples you had. I know people they want to know how to grow together, and you guys have done a really great job explaining that. So we appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us on.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.